Congress is moving to create a temporary fast-track process to raise the debt ceiling. Joining us now is Greta Van Susteren, host of Full Court Press and Western Mass News chief national political analyst. Greta, as always, great to see you.
Nice to talk to you, Chris.
Thank you very much. The House already voted on the legislation. Now it just goes to the Senate. So what does this process do, and why is that significant?
Well, it's all sort of smoke and mirrors, but here's what happened. Republicans didn't want to vote to raise the debt ceiling. They didn't want to look like big spenders. And next November, they want to say, look, the Democrats are big spenders. They raise the debt ceiling. So Republicans said to the Democrats beginning last July, just pass it by reconciliation. You only need 50 votes in the Senate and you have it. Well, the Democrats didn't want to do it. They didn't want to do it alone. So they've had this back and forth fight. And in October, they extended the debt ceiling until December. So now we get to now. And so what are they going to do? Everyone's sort of drawn the line in the sand. So what they did was this, is that they had a deal where in the House, they passed new legislation about not cutting Medicare. Everybody's in favor of that, Republican and Democrats. They don't want to cut some Medicare provisions that would automatically sunset in January. Well, one of the things that they tucked into it was a provision at one time that they could have a vote in the Senate to raise the debt ceiling where we only need 50 votes, just like you would with reconciliation, only we're not calling it reconciliation. So what's going to happen is that it passes the Senate, the bill not to cut the Medicare, not to have the Medicare cuts. It then goes to the president's desk. He signs it into law. And then the other provision, which is that they could raise the debt ceiling with only 50 votes, goes to the House and to the Senate. And because the Democrats have the majority in both, they then raise the debt ceiling at that point. So it's achieving that which would happen with reconciliation almost. The one difference is this, is Democrats didn't want to go reconciliation because if they do that, then they start something called vote-a-rama, where the Republicans tuck all sorts of amendments that they have to vote on into raising the debt ceiling, and that drags it out. So both sides are playing a little bit fast and loose, but our debt ceiling will be raised. We are not going to be scofflaws and be a bad debt risk to the world.
All right, so let's change gears a bit. Where are we with the Build Back Better bill? Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer insisting the Senate can pass it before Christmas, but of course, that's coming up quickly and doesn't leave him a whole lot of time.
Yeah, well, we heard that song, Chris, from Speaker Pelosi before they passed it finally in November. They were going to do it in September, October, finally late November they did it. Look, it seems very unlikely it's going to get passed before Christmas because two U.S. senators, Senator Manchin, Senator Sinema, they have to get on board. They have to be yes votes in order to get the 50, and Kamala Harris, the vice president, and then be the tiebreaker so that the Democrats could pass the legislation. I don't see that happening because both Senators Manchin and Sinema still have disagreements with the way Build Back Better is written. And so it's unlikely they're on board before Christmas. If they're not on board, they can't have the vote. Or if they do have the vote, the Democrats will lose. And obviously, President Biden and the Democrats don't want that. So it's maybe wishful thinking on behalf of Senator Schumer. I don't see it happening before Christmas. January, it's much more likely.
Greta Van Susteren, as always, great insight there. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chris.